And that turns over to the team around Adrian. So may I ask you to switch off? Yeah, excellent.
Hello.
Switch off your cameras and switch on, Adrian. And without further ado, I will leave my screen and give it to you for the famous FAMELAB.
Great. Okay, I'm Adrian Fenton. I work for the British Council and have the privilege of running FAMELAB International. And it's also great that today happens to be the same, coincidentally, the international finals for FAMELAB today at 4 o'clock. I'm just going to share a few slides briefly before we then actually go on to speak to our colleagues who've been able to join today. I could listen to each of them, I'm sure, for probably half an hour or even more each, because they've got so many stories to tell, but they will only have 3 or 4 minutes to talk about their experiences of FAMELAB. So I really appreciate them being able to join today. I have I've been able to share my screen now, so I hope if Lubov or Marco, can you nod if you can see that as a sample? Yeah, great, excellent. So FAMELAB is an international science communication program that includes training and also a competition element. It's run in around 35 countries. This year there's 20 that are participating, and it promotes a community feel about the importance of public engagement in science. There are a big reach, big impressive reach that FAMELAB has in many, many countries, and many people are inspired to go on to other things in public engagement. It's the catalyst for recognizing the importance of science communication. It relies a lot on the support of higher education organizations and partners around the world, over 200 partners. So today, recognizing the focus of the conference, our speakers will also be thinking about their own experience in HE and how in their own countries they've experienced FAMELAB from that perspective, as well as everything else. So here are a few typical pictures that give you a feeling for the types of the events. This is Egypt's final from last year, where they got the permission to set up a stage specifically in the desert next to the pyramids. Up top right are the winners from 2018. Bottom left is the studio that Brazil used this year, where they have had TV coverage transmitting it this week. And we also have some of the other typical examples of speakers there. So I'm not going to take any more time because I want to hear from our speakers who've giving up their time to join us. So the order we'll have, first I'm going to hand across to Marco Kosicek, who experienced FAMELAB in Croatia in 2008, winning it and going on to the international finals, winning there as well. And it's led him to an interesting career that in HE that has also made him able to continue this public engagement element. So if you could tell us a little bit more about your experiences through FAMELAB and how that influenced your career. Thank you, Marco. I think you're muted at the moment.
Yeah, so yeah, okay. So hello, everybody. Thanks for introduction. So I applied for FAMELAB in 2008. It was just a few months after I started my PhD at Ruđer Bošković Institute. I did my PhD in biochemistry in the field of neuroscience. And before FAMELAB, I was active in different educational projects. And my primary motivation was to get a ticket for this weekend training for the finalists, to learn more about how to present in public, not just on scientific conference, but in general audience as well, and how to deal with stage fright, which I still have a certain problem with, but I learned how to do it. So after the winning on international level, I got some media attention, and my 5 minutes of glory lasted a bit longer, still even decade later. They called me during Valentine's to talk about love. So I proved that known fact that sex sells. In my case, I literally have a sexy topic. I talk about biochemical processes which happen in our brain during love and sex. So feedback from my colleagues at the Institute, but also for general research community, was mostly positive. And I think FAMELAB has raised awareness that soft skill development for younger researchers and students is important. Although we don't formally have it at our universities on graduate studies or postgraduate studies, there are many different initiatives for different workshops and activities during the year. After the FAMELAB, I continue with numerous scientific communication activities, and from 2013 I got opportunity to host scientific TV show on national TV. And I'm glad that we use that show as a platform to show new faces of science. So our show was the possibility for young researchers as well to be for the first time on TV and talk about their passion for science and their research. So it's still going. 8th season is at the moment on hold due to pandemic, but we'll be back soon, I hope. Between 2018 and last summer, I was chief advisor to the Ministry of Science and Education, and I got that opportunity due to my activities followed by FAMELAB. So I can conclude that FAMELAB really changed my course of life and career. So those 3 minutes really had a big impact on me. Also, many different nice stories can be heard from other Croatian FAMELABers who are still actively involved in different activities at their research communities. Unfortunately, at the moment, there is no FAMELAB in Croatian, but I hope this will change in the future. So this was a short introduction. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Marko. Really impressive there, and the fact that you went on to work as the chief advisor for the Ministry of Education there was an amazing impact through FAMELAB. If you're online watching this and you've experienced FAMELAB in the country, it would be really interesting to see any comments in the Q&A, even if it's just saying I took part or have seen it in your country, just so we get a feeling for who's out there. So next up, I'm going to pass this across to Eliska Selinga, who won FAMELAB in the Czech Republic in 2016 and has gone on to some interesting things subsequently. So Eliska, over to you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Eliška, and I'm currently employed as a medical doctor at the National Institute of Public Health and as a teacher at Third Faculty of Medicine at Charles University here in Prague. I was lucky enough to win Czech national final, and it has the amazing or almost life-changing opportunity to represent my country in an international round, to learn not only from Czech finals, but to get the taste of an international environment too. At the time of FAMELAB, I was still studying. However, I have already worked as an assistant teacher at the genetic department at my faculty. And I have to say that FAMELAB really shaped my vision about my next career, confirming to me that communicating science is an important task. I realized that I really like to communicate science, that abroad they maybe are giving more attention to proper science communication. And also I realized how it is really great to take a little bit of science communication into the classes, because teaching, especially good teaching, shares a lot with science communication approach, in my opinion. You have to engage your students, show them that the topic you are talking about is exciting, interesting, and useful. And foremost, you have to be able to explain the topic in a way everybody in a class understands it by the end of the day, which is basically the definition of science communication. And getting the opportunity to be part of FAMELAB in Czech Republic, as well as in the international rounds, to participate at the FAMELAB masterclasses, to be under the stress to select the most important messages, to fit them into that crazy 3 minutes limit, and foremost to step outside my comfort zone, my academic comfort zone, go abroad and talk about my field, my research on the stage before a room full of people who are literally judging me. All of that really shaped my teaching style, gave me a great practice, and I believe it really is one of the reasons students today like my classes, because thanks to FAMELAB, I learned how to make the class likable for them. So I have learned that this is good to search for more entertaining ways of teaching, and that even the university classes can be more fun, let's say. When I was born FAMELAB, it was funny that at the faculty, almost no one really known. I participated as a student when I applied, it was more about the fun, trying something new, nothing serious, you know, meet new people, maybe go to UK on the semi-final. But then some people at the university realized I won and were excited because slightly later my university started new science communicating project, Science Slam, and were looking for people with interest and experience in the field, because at the time, like 3 or 4 years ago, university did not have enough of such professionals, despite the fact that they had the interest in doing such kind of projects. So, and also now in 2020, with the whole shift to online teaching, it became inevitable that creativity and ability to catch the attention of the students is crucial part of teaching work. And fortunately, FameLab is here to help the people who are motivated to learn how to do that and help us to build a solid science communication personal basis at Czech higher educational institutions. So thanks for that.
Great, Eliska. That's brilliant. I'm glad I like the way you made the link between your experience communicating with your then work in HE in communicating with your students and presenting the subject in that way. Also touching on the online element there, which has been very apparent this year. Obviously, we're here online instead of face-to-face in Prague. And that transformation we're reflecting on that as well, about the whole thing within FameLab, how the training has been delivered online, how we have tried to nurture a collective feeling through the scientists around the world that are participating. Great. So next up, we have Michael Lonsburger, and he's had an impressive career as a research fellow and also as a science communicator, and also the boron laser inventor, something that I didn't know before this whole event. So I really appreciate that you've managed to fit this in. Can you tell us a little bit about your experiences and where it led you in the next 4 or 5 minutes? Thanks.
Okay, well, thank you, Adrian, for the introduction and the opportunity to contribute today. Eliška, fantastic words there from a fabulous, not only a communicator of science, but also a scientist herself. I can remember very well when she came on stage at FameLab dressed in this uniform, it's an amazing display of confidence and passion for her science. And I think that's the key thing for me with FameLab, and that's meeting people who have a real passion, enthusiasm that they can project. And for me, that's key in science, not only science communication, but of course, science generally and science research. Certainly in higher education facilities and institutions, universities, maintaining an enthusiasm for your research work is key to getting students, is key to successful projects, and is key to your own sanity. I mean, when you're working at the edge of knowledge, as we are in research, it can be a lonely place, a place where there might be very few individuals with whom you can share a meaningful conversation on what you're actually doing. So you have to maintain an enthusiasm for what you do, which can often be knocked at by referees or by grant agencies or whatever it might be. So this ability to maintain enthusiasm, project enthusiasm is, I think, key to success as a scientist. The disciplines and rigors of participating in FameLab are extremely important, I think, to the development of scientists per se. As already eloquently said by Eliška, in a very condensed period, talk about something which is very profound, it can be very difficult to talk about. So the ability to connect, engage, and communicate something in that short period is an incredible skill to have and to develop and to nurture and to attempt to perfect. And that's a skill which I think is lacking in many scientists and is unfortunately still underestimated in many scientific institutions, although that's changing, thankfully, with increasing speed. So my experience with FameLab is not as a competitor itself, but I've seen it from the perspective of being one of the judges in every year that it's taken place here in the Czech Republic, and I've been on a couple of occasions then to support the winner of the Czech competition in England at Cheltenham. So and I've observed how the skills of individuals have been, you know, very much honed in and improved by the competition. I've witnessed my own students on a number of occasions go through the rigors of FAMELAB, and I've seen how that's improved many aspects of their science, not just communication, but also afterwards writing, and then, as I said, I think most important, the flourishing of their own enthusiasm. Plus, I think an incredibly important dimension of it all is the network that these young scientists are then exposed to, a truly global network of universities and scientific institutions, higher educational facilities, where they're making friendships and forging relationships between them. And somebody from the Czech Republic, in our case, then meet people from all over the world who are in a similar boat, and they realize that, you know, they've got it in them to compete with these people, to make friendships, networks, collaborations. All these things add together to further their own scientific careers. So I view FAMELAB as a really important instrument to help a good number of young scientists progress their careers. Of course, it's not the only thing that's available to many people. It might not be the best thing for many people, but what's important, I think, generally in science is that we have a number of similar schemes and projects which can appeal to a certain selection of people and enhance their skills. So that's my opinion on FAMELAB and how it fits into the sort of the holistic approach to doing science globally.
Great, thanks very much, Michael. Really insightful to hear your thoughts and comments there. I'm so tempted to pose questions now, but I think we'll hear from everyone and then we'll come back to the end to make most of everyone being here. So finally, and by no means least, Lubov Kostova is the country director for British Council in Bulgaria. She has been with FAMELAB since it ever started, since she was one of the ones who helped us go, this could work for the British Council, we could make this international. So she has a lot of experience for this in Bulgaria. And I'd like her to reflect on the experiences of how it's worked in her country and what also she's heard internationally in relation to this topic. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Adrian. I'll actually take us back in time a little bit. When Dr. Denis Demiyurek, a friend of Marco from Ankara, took his family to a restaurant in a different city after winning FAMELAB in 2008 in Turkey, much to his surprise, when he asked for the check, the restaurant owner came to him and said, "No, sir, we know who you are. We watched you on television. We're so proud to know you. And this meal is on us." Denise could not imagine something like that. But then again, the owner of the restaurant was one of the millions of Turks who watched his final on television live that year. 1 in 4 Turks, estimated in 2008, watched the Turkish FAMELAB final. And I have heard from somebody, and this comment stuck with me over time. One person wrote, if I had known there were more scientists like Denise in my country, I would have never left Turkey to look for life elsewhere, he commented after watching the final. Then there was Eduardo Deca Wazon. In 2013, after winning FAMELAB in Spain, he was invited to a medical conference to deliver his winning 3 minutes in mathematics, not medicine. He was so stunning and so impressive that after the conference ended, somebody came completely out of protocol, walked up to Eduardo and shook his hands. The person who shook Eduardo's hand was no less than the then princess, now Queen of Spain. Ever since then, the Queen of Spain has been part of the FAMELAB finals in Spain. But then again, Eduardo went on to found with other FAMELABers the hugely internationally successful in touring Big Van company, which tours schools across Europe and Latin America. Eduardo also found himself speaking at the largest TEDx conference in the world, and then his talk was progressed from there to the TED main website, to the homepage of the TED conferences, where he was alongside Bill Gates for 2 weeks in a row. And then there was Bulgarian Budgetar Stefanov, somebody who comes from a small town in Bulgaria, very shy, did a fantastic career in completing his MA in chemistry in Bulgaria, but also bringing along with him all the insecurities of small country, small town origin. Now, Budgetar came through FameLab, and then he went on and became, did his PhD before he actually was 26. He defended his PhD at Uppsala University, where he was at the nanotechnology lab. When he was interviewed for his PhD research, he was asked to summarize his future research ideas in 10 minutes. That's when he realized 10 minutes, I can actually do it in 3. Budgetar went on to do postdocs at Oxford University and other UK and international universities. He's now progressing his academic career at the Technical University in Bulgaria, and also is an award-winning podcaster as Dr. Bo. FameLab in Bulgaria has meant a lot of things. We found 15 years ago a system that spoke about public promoting of science, which is a one-way event. Nowadays, we have the first science festival set up through by the British Council, but because of FameLabbers. FameLabbers will be the stars of European Researchers' Night. You can see the banner behind me because it will be on tomorrow, and FameLabbers are the people who will be forging the way with innovative, fresh approaches to communicating science. Bulgaria has seen the first 2 private, modern science centers created and invested into, simply because there were the FameLabbers who were there to help with coming up with the ideas, but now working at the centers as well. And some senior, by now senior academics in their universities are introducing FameLab MA programs, as well as communication skills as part of their curricula. I'll stop here.
That's great, Lubov. I know there's lots more examples and stories that you could come up with, but it's been good to have a little bit of insight there from and some great examples. We're obviously all the advocates here.
You're on mute, Adrian.
Yeah, sorry, I've sorted that back out. Apologies. Some of you out there might be thinking, I don't really understand why, why should it be a priority in our HE? If you've got any questions or thoughts around that, please do post them in the Q&A. And I'm going to pose a question to our panel anyway, along the lines of that, because we're all advocates for public engagement. We all have had great experiences through FameLab. Hopefully all of those that even didn't get to the finals and just entered it regionally have had good experiences. But there are those who think, it's not for me, I'm a researcher. Is it really a priority in the HE sector? Should it be a priority? So I'd like to put that to the panel. Is there any, should we be doing more to recognise the importance of public engagement, and how can we make sure it's not just seen as for those who want to be on stage? Michael, do you want to take that?
Yes, well, you mentioned in my intro that you're very kind to mention me as the discoverer of the first borane laser, which is indeed true, and we published that discovery in Nature Communications, which is one of the higher or highest impact factor journals, and certainly the goal of many a scientist. When publishing that, in the letter to the editor, which you have to provide along with the manuscript, the letter to the editor it's very well defined how many words you can use and what topics you should cover, what you should actually say in that letter. And you're given 100 words to explain why the work is of suitable quality and novelty to be published in their journal, and then 100 words, an equivalent number of words, to explain why this is significant to a public audience of non-scientific public audience. So it's more or less exactly the kind of thing that you're expected to deliver within the premise of a FAMELAB lecture. So in other words, if you want to achieve academic success, you have to have these capabilities. And so despite I agree with you that I do hear on many occasions, you know, many academics who of course have never been to a FAMELAB and never or very rarely contribute in any meaningful way to popularization of science. They can, you know, belittle these things, but really I think those scientists who are enlightened, they understand that it has huge, you know, transferable value.
Great, thanks very much, Michael, for that. And of course, whilst we're focusing on FAMELAB here, we do of course recognize that some people participate in 3-minute thesis, Falling Walls program. There are other things out there that we you know, want to work with. It's not just this route, they all offer slightly different things. Would anyone else like to add to Michael's comments there regarding that question? Lubov.
I think that whether it's FAMELAB or another route of exploring and training communication skills to scientists, it is so important to recognize that more and more projects, international or EU funded projects nowadays, are given to the best teams, not just academically and scientifically, but those who can also engage with diverse audiences, whether it's adults like ourselves or young children. So communication skills are essential to the way that science is delivered nowadays. That's so important to say. And of course, we are all seeing the benefits of good communicators, especially in this day and age, this day and months, actually, hopefully not ages, due to the pandemic.
Great, thanks. Thanks very much for that, Lubov. We've had a question coming from Deca about where do you see the future of FAMELAB, which is again a massive thing we could talk about for ages. But I think we've learned through the pandemic about the options to offer online experiences that reach broader audiences with less of an impact regarding flying people around. I'm not saying that's the only solution, but it's been an impressive, interesting learning experience about that sort of area of work. And I think this conference, in particular, things about how we can make more of the links with the institutions that are involved so that they feel part of something. That's another area that we're keen to explore, so that it's seen more of as a network of organizations and individuals who are part of the FAMELAB thing. But you know, we're still open to ideas. You know, it's emphasizing that it's not just a competition. That's something that I also personally always want to do. Yes, it's fun to have a competition, but actually it's about the experience, the network, the message of the importance of communication, and how else we can do that through a program is something that's really important. I'm just going to cut to share the screen finally for just a final slide to just remind you, everyone, about the finals which are happening today. So hopefully you can now see that on the screen. Can someone like Lubov nod if it's working? Yeah. So tonight, well, 4 o'clock UK time or 5 p.m. In your local time, the FAMELAB International Finals are happening on YouTube. There will be 10 of the picked from the 20 countries that are participating that will be doing their presentations, and you will all get the chance to vote. So even if you just drop in for a little bit, we'd love to see you there. And you know, and you can also interact on the chat there. So are there any other questions? Finally, let me just do a final check. I don't think so. So thank you very much for joining us. You 4 speakers have been amazing. I would have loved to hear more from you, but you've painted a good picture in true FAMELAB style. So thanks very much for allowing us to be part of this conference as well, and all the arrangements that's gone into it. I look forward to any future discussions, and do drop us a line if you want to find out more. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adrian and the whole team. I love your project, and I honestly would have loved to do that when I finished my PhD, even though it was not in hard sciences, just in the soft social ones. But I truly agree. I think the most important thing is that we make the research accessible and known to the public. And FAMELAB is one of the ways of doing it, and certainly an absolutely great one. So thanks again for this.